Herzlich willkommen zu einem neuen Video von GCSE German Tutorials.
The imperfect tense. On the video about the imperfect tense, we should probably talk a bit about what it is. So it describes a particular event in the past, and it also can be known as the simple past. And in English, it translates to was doing. So I was doing something rather than I did something. And it's mostly used in writing. The perfect tense is more used to speak, but there are some exceptions that are always in the imperfect, which we will address in a minute. Start with a regular verb, spielen. So to form the perfect tense, you take the stem, in this case spiel, add a T, and then add these endings, E, EST, E, EN, ET, EN. So quite similar to the endings of the present tense. Spoken German, only modal verbs, haben, and sein are always used in the imperfect, and they're hardly ever used in the perfect tense. So, modal verbs, the general rule for all of these, except mögen, which is the last one, is you take the umlaut off if there is one, don't do anything if there isn't, add a T, and add the endings. We get rid of the umlaut on können, and it becomes konnte, which is to be able to. Then müssen goes to musste, which is to have to, or to must, but you can't really say to must. Dürfen goes to dürfte, which is to be allowed to. Sollen goes to sollte, which is should do something. Wollen goes to wollte, which means want. And mögen, a little bit tricky this one, mögen goes to mochte, which means like. So this is the only modal verb that doesn't follow the rule of taking the umlaut off, adding a T and adding the ending. So just learn that mögen goes to mochte. So on to haben and sein. So haben and sein are just completely irregular, so you'll need to learn them, but they do have the regular endings. So haben goes to ich and hatte, because the ich and forms in the imperfect are the same, and du hattest, and sein goes to ich or war and du warst. Now we move on to some decidedly odd-looking irregulars, which we'll go through here. The most important thing with these is to recognise them because they're often used in their perfect form rather than their imperfect form. In doubt, use the perfect form of these verbs. Gehen goes to ich or ging and du gingst, and that means go. Fahren goes to ich and fuhr and du fuhrst. Odd, right? And that means to drive. Sprechen goes to ich or sprach and du sprachst, which is to speak. Finden goes to ich or fand and du fandest. Denken, which means think, goes to ich or dachte and du dachtest. And finally, essen, which I have a sneaking suspicion you will not struggle to remember, goes to ich aß and du aßest. Now we'll move on to the examples. As always, feel free to pause, have a go at them, and then we'll go through them. Number 1. Yesterday, I was allowed to drink water. Lucky me.
Gestern durfte ich Wasser trinken. Number 2. Du hattest viele Äpfel.
You had a lot of apples. Number 3. We had to dance.
Wir mussten tanzen. Number 4. Sollte sein Zimmer aufräumen.
He was meant to tidy his room. And number 5. They wanted no pets.
Sie wollten keine Haustiere.
Now we're going to zoom out for you to take any notes you might want to, and while you do, here's the fun fact about Germany we know you've been waiting for.
Obwohl Frankreich für sein gutes Baguette bekannt ist, hat Deutschland über 600 Arten von Brot, unter anderem unser gutes und gesundes Vollkornbrot, das wir alle lieben.
And that means even though France is famous for its amazing bread, Germany actually has about 600 different types of bread, one of them being the healthy multigrain bread that we all adore.
Bis bald!